Okay guys, welcome to the walkthrough for increasing pattern 3. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. So the first thing we need to do is draw the next two structures. And the first thing I think about when I'm needing to draw my next two structures is looking at how the pattern looks different in between, or like from one structure to the next. So the first thing I noticed about these structures was that this bottom leg that sticks out for each structure increases by 1 each time. So like on structure 1, there's just 1 dot. On structure 2, there's 2. And on structure 3, 3. And on structure 4, there's 4. So I think for structure 5, there will be 5 diamonds. We'll call them blocks. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw that out. Let me make my thing bigger. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not that pretty, but it'll work. And so the next thing I noticed was that there was 2 legs that stuck out, and one to the left and one to the right. So for the leg on the left, this leg, from stage 1 to 2, I noticed that it also goes up by 1. So this one goes 2 to 3 to the second one. And then this one goes 3 to 4. And this one goes 4 to 5. Yes. So for my fifth structure, I'm going to say that's going to increase by 1. So from structure 4, there's 5 blocks. So for structure 5, there should be 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I'm looking at the left leg, it looks like this right leg goes up by the same amount. So I'm going to say that from 4 to 5, it'll go up by 1 as well. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. There we go. We got 6 legs on there. So now this is the structure for number 5. And now we're going to do number 6. So from 4 to 5, it went from 4 blocks to 5 blocks on the bottom leg. So from 5 to 6, I think it will go from 5 blocks to 6 blocks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then my left and right legs sticking up to the left and right, they went from 5 to 6 blocks between structure 4 and 5. So for structure 5 to 6, I think there will be 7 blocks. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so since I know the left leg matches the right leg, I'm going to do 7 on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it is okay if your patterns look rough like mine, because at least I can see what's going on. It may not be perfect, but I can see what's going on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put the way we see the pattern increasing into an X and Y table. And for our X, we know that it is going to be the structure number. And Y is going to equal the total number of blocks. So we know we have 6 structures total. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now let's see how many blocks we have in our structures. So for structure 1, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For structure 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For structure 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And for structure 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we know that those are correct because they were given to us at the beginning of the pattern, so we can count those and know that it matches each structure number. But for 5 and 6, we drew these based off of how we see the pattern increasing. So how can we check that these are right since we drew these and they weren't given to us on our pattern sheet? Well, one way we can do that is let's look at how each structure is increasing. So if we look back over to our data table, so for structure 1, there's 5 total blocks, and then for structure 2, there's 8 total blocks. So from 5 to 8, it increases by 3, and then from 8 to 11, it also increases by 3, and from 11 to 14, there's also an increase of 3. So we can guess just based off our data table that on the 5th structure, there should be 14 plus 3 blocks, which is 17 blocks. And on our 6th structure, there should be 17 plus 3, which is 20 blocks. So now that we know we should have 17 blocks in our 5th structure and 20 blocks in our 6th structure, let's go back and count our blocks. So if we come back over here and look at our 5th structure, I'm going to count them starting with the left leg. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh no, I only have 16 blocks, but based off our data, I should have 17. So let's see where I messed up. And I'm going to delete these just for a second so I can see this one clearly. Okay, so I know in my patterns that were given to me, I saw that this bottom leg increased by 1 each time. So if we go from structure 4 to 5, there should be 5 in this bottom leg. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that's right in our drawing. And then the left leg should be, it also increases by 1 more. So it should go from 5 to 6 in our 5th drawing. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we know that leg's right. So let's look at this 3rd leg. It should also be 6 since the legs are the same. They look the same in the pattern. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay. I see where I missed it. I didn't draw my 6th leg here. There we go. So now our drawing should match that in our data table. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Perfect. Okay, so that is how your data table can help you double check if your drawings are correct and vice versa. So if you're getting a different number in your patterns compared to your table, it can help you double check that way. Or if your table doesn't match your drawings, then you can go back and see what you did wrong there too. So I'm just going to draw these back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one just went a little curly on us. Okay, and as for the 6th structure, we should have 20 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Perfect. So our 6th structure is correct. Okay, now that we have drawn our next 2 structures and created a data table to reflect the structure number and the total number of blocks, we are going to create our graph because that is our 3rd step in processing our patterns. So the 3rd is make a graph. Okay, and so when I'm making my graph, I'm going to create my X and Y axis. Here we go. and I'm going to be sure to label which is which. So we always know that this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis. And then we're going to label what those two represent. So based off our data table, x is equal to the structure number, and y is equal to the total number of blocks. Okay, and then once I label what my x and y axis are, we're going to draw our increments to show each structure number. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to be sure to label what those represent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we also have to do that for our y-axis. But it doesn't look like our y-axis grows the same way as our x-axis. It goes to a much higher number. So in order for us to be able to graph this on a smaller scale, we're going to skip count our numbers on the y-axis. And I'm just going to choose the number 5. So for my first mark, it's going to be 5. And then 5 plus 5 is 10. And so on as you go up, skip counting. Because every increment in here has to equal the same amount. So we started at 0 and we went up to 5. And then in order to keep this little box the same, we have to go up by 5 again, and 5 and 5, and so on. Okay, so now we're going to plot our points from our data table. And so for structure 1, there was a total of 5 blocks. For structure 2, there's a total of 8. But I don't see the number 8 on my graph. So what should I do? Okay, so I know 8 is smaller than 10, but it's bigger than 5. So I'm just going to estimate that it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 10. So I'm just going to put a little bit below 10. And the same for our third structure. It is 11, but we don't have 11 on our graph. So I'm just going to estimate that it's just a little bit above 10. And the same for 4. It's greater than 10, but less than 15. So I'm going to put it just a little bit below 15. And 5 is 17. And then for our sixth structure, it is 20. And that is how we do our graph. So our next step is to turn our data that we found in our table and in our graph into a verbal expression. And just to show how we see the pattern growing. So 4 is verbal. Okay, so the way I started with the verbal is with the bottom leg. So I split mine up into 3 different parts. So I have a bottom leg, a left leg, and a right leg. And I'm going to come back up here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. And we're just going to use structure 5 so I don't have to move it too much. So I'm talking about, I see this is the bottom leg, this is the left leg, and this is the right leg. So the first thing I notice about the bottom leg is that it always matches our structure number. So on structure 1, there's 1 on the bottom leg. Structure 2, there's only 2. Structure 3, there's 3. In structure 4, there's 4. And so on with our structure 5 and 6. This bottom leg is always the structure number. And then for the left legs, I noticed that it was the structure number, but it was 1 more than the structure number. So that's what I'm going to write down. 1 more than the structure number. And I noticed that about the left and right leg, that since the left and right legs are like mirrors of each other, so it's like they just flipped from one side to the other. So it is also one more than the structure number. Okay, so now I've written out how I see it verbally, and I just want to make sure that y'all understand that the verbal is going to look different for everyone. Everyone's going to see how it changes differently. Like not everyone may have seen it as a bottom leg and a left leg and a right leg like I did, but on this step we're just going to write down what we're seeing happen, or what we see it being changed, because this is going to help us solve what our algebraic expression is. So our fifth and final step is trying to find an algebraic expression or equation that describes our verbal or describes the change in the pattern. So for my first part of my verbal, I said the bottom leg is the structure number. So how can I define what the structure number is? Well, we can go look at our graph or our data table. So X is equal to the structure number. So I know that in my verbal, X will represent the bottom leg. And then for my left leg, I said it's one more than the structure number. So if it's one more than the structure number, we will need to add 1 to it. So it's going to be X plus 1. And I said that was the same for both legs. So I will have 2x plus 1, because this one represents the left leg and this one represents the right leg. Okay, so now this looks like a bunch of mess. So the next thing we're going to do is combine our like terms. So the way I do this is I'm going to circle all my x's, and then I'm going to circle all my numbers that don't have any variables. So we got 1 1, 2 1s. So then I'm going to go through there. We have 1 2 3 x's plus 1 2. And we know that y equals 3x plus 2. And there you go. There's the walkthrough for increasing patterns 3. If you have any questions, just be sure to email Miss Rouse or ask us during our next WebEx meeting. Thank you guys, and y'all are doing such a good job with these, and hope y'all have a good day.